Dear friends, welcome. This is the last but one class for this particular slot. And today we'll be dealing with the topic of life and life after life. Death is a normal feature of our life. We are anxious, afraid, but still what can we philosophically learn about it? That is the issue at stake. What can we learn about life and life after death from a rational point of view? So, the questions that we ask, T.S. Eliot, the famous poet, English poet, say, "Save me, Lord, from him who knows to ask the right question." And as philosophy students, we do ask questions, but are we asking the right questions when it comes to death and what could possibly happen to us after death? That is the issue at stake. Why has God done this to us? Is it the inscrutable will of God? That I know is the question so many lakhs of people ask in the context of this COVID pandemic. Close to 4 lakhs of people are dying or just dead. And the relatives of each one would be asking this question: why has God taken away our beloved? A few days more would have been good for my beloved. Now, on the one hand, we can see death as a law of nature, as a law of matter. Anything that has parts, anything that is made up of materiality, that would naturally decay, rust away, disintegrate. Therefore, from a natural point of view, our body has parts outside of parts. Our body is made up of matter. Therefore, this natural aspect of our body would disintegrate, would die. That is a normal part of our life. Still, the question is, okay, on the one hand, we can say that we may be immortal. Human beings may not die. Our soul will carry on living. But Camilo Torres, that great priest and revolutionary liberation theologian, he said, for most people, they are not so much worried about the soul, but they are worried about the body. The hunger is mortal that we don't pay attention to. For the more than 350 people, the migrants who died on their way, yeah, they tell us that hunger is really mortal. So we have no right to speak about the immortality of the soul when we recognize that the bodily hunger is really mortal. In the same spirit that we have to pay attention to this world, to our present body, Vatican II also says a hope related to the end of time, that is the eschatological hope, does not diminish the importance of intervening duties, that is, duties of ours in this particular world. When we hope about life after death, the end of time, it does not diminish the importance of the present day, but rather undergirds the acquittal of them which fresh incentives. That means, if we really believe in life after death, that should commit us to remove the poverty, the sufferings, and the miseries of life before death. Coming to death, one way of paying homage to the dead people is through the funeral customs. 60,000 years ago, archaeologists have been able to trace from prehistoric people that they had special ceremonies while burying the dead. You know, one of the most agonizing moments is a person close to you dies and we cannot trace the body. Finding the body, paying special homage, and giving a decent funeral and grieving over. These are crucial moments. If you don't find the body, you still don't know whether the person is dead or alive, and that makes the agony still more difficult to bear. Similar to the prehistoric people, the Neanderthal men had graves containing tools, weapons, and even traces of flowers. Therefore, funeral and paying special homage to the departed ones have been part of our tradition. Therefore, we bury our dead. Cremation is also acceptable to the Catholic Church. About 25 years ago, one philosophy professor here at JDV, De Marnef, Shan De Marnef, he was a professor of from Calcutta province, and you know we have actually a memorial in honor of De Marnef and Desmond. And he wrote before he died that his body should be cremated. So when you come back to JDB and visit the cemetery, you can see a small slot where his ashes are kept, De Marnef. So cremation is not usual but very much acceptable to the church. And the Parsis, okay, they are a rich group of people but dwindling in size. They have the custom of placing the dead bodies on the tower called the Tower of Silence, and the eagles would come and eat them up. Nowadays, it seems there is problem because in Bombay, where there are many, the eagle population is also diminishing. So, on the whole, the funeral custom is a way of saying that we respect our departed and they are very, very dear to us. Therefore, we give a decent farewell, mostly a collective farewell where we all come together, share our grief, and then by sharing the grief, we bid farewell. At least in that way, there is a closure for our relationship with the person. Okay, now interpreting death and life after death. Basically, there are two responses. One is the nihilistic response. Nihilistic. See, I forgot. Nihilistic response. It is a negative response and it claims, yeah, there is nothing after death. That is the nihilistic part of it. And the positive response says, no, there is something after death. So the nihilistic and the positive responses. And under each of these, we have three subsections. We will see that now. Under the nihilistic response, the first section is those who say, let us make merry. There is no life and there is no life after. Let us eat, drink, make merry. The Charvakas in the Indian philosophy and hedonists, Epicureans in the Western philosophy would represent this view. Eat, drink, and make merry. But on the other hand, there is another group of people who are so much socially committed. Socially committed. They want to help out their fellow human beings. Albert Camus, John Paul Sartre were examples of it. The Marxists also, they give up their life in the service of fellow human beings, and they do not expect any reward because they don't believe in life after death. But helping the fellow human beings uplift themselves is a reward in itself. Third one are the people who say, we don't know, we don't even care. The indifferentists. The indifferentists are like the agnostics. There are theists who believe in God, atheists who don't believe, and agnostics in between, those who say that we don't know anything about God. In the same way, the indifferentists are those who say we don't know whether there is life after death and we don't care. So, these are the three negative or nihilistic responses to life after death. We will just focus a little bit more on the socially committed. That beautiful song, The Impossible Dream, from the man from La Mancha, expresses this search of those who are socially committed and who don't believe in life after death. Just the song, to dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from the fire, to strive when you are too weary. This is the first part of the song. The rest of it you can listen to in the internet, or you have it also in the text. So can we dream that impossible dream, even though we know that there is no life after death? Can we bear that unbearable sorrow and go in where the bravest also do not go, do not dare? Can we together right the unrightable wrong? Love pure and chaste from the depth of our hearts. So, in that sense, we would be reaching that unreachable star. Okay, three nihilistic responses: eat, drink, make merry, the courageous despair, and those who are indifferent. Now we come to three positive responses. One is reincarnation of the soul. Reincarnation of the soul is the primary belief of the Hindu brothers and sisters, we know. But we also need to remember that this reincarnation is not limited to Hindus or Indians. Among the Aboriginals of Australia, of Africa, among the ancient Greece civilization, Plato somehow believed in reincarnation. So reincarnation has been a widely accepted belief. Many people in Australia also believe in that. Now, because you have heard of this reincarnation from your Indian philosophy classes, we are not taking it up now for discussion. We will be taking a little bit on the immortality of the soul. Reincarnation is not the same as immortality of the soul. Although reincarnation presupposes immortality of the soul. The immortality of the soul means the soul had a beginning, but it will not end. This is actually a Christian belief also. God created the soul, therefore the soul had a beginning, but now that the soul has come to existence, it will not die. Thirdly, and this is very important, it is the resurrection of the body. Let me take one call if it is connected with this. Hello?
Father?
Yeah.
Father?
Yeah.
Father, your has stopped, but we got stuck over it. The right people after that. After that, we're not getting in order. Get it stuck over there.
Okay, I'll come to that. Let me go back and see. Okay. Hello, can you all hear me now?
Yes, Father. Yes.
Did you have problem with the slides?
No, Father.
No, Father, everything is fine.
I just now got a call saying there is a problem. So I am restarting the slides. Don't worry. I am sharing the slides once again. Okay, let me go back. So, life before and life after death. The human soul may be immortal, but hunger is not. In this context, Vatican II also says, any eschatological hope about the future of my death should encourage me, should urge me to do my things in this world, reduce the sufferings of the others. Funeral custom specially speaks about the homage we pay to our own dear ones. The Neanderthal men put tools and weapons in the grave of their beloved ones. Burial and cremation is part of our life. Even Christians can do the cremation. And the Parsis would keep their bodies on the Tower of Silence, and the eagle would take the bodies away. Now, as far as the life after death is concerned, there is a nihilistic response and there is a positive response. And each of these can be subdivided into three sections. The nihilistic response speaks about the Epicureans, the Charvakas, the hedonists. Eat, drink, and make merry. And there is nothing to worry about because there is no more tomorrow. The socially committed, they are the people with a courageous despair, Camus and Marxists. Then there is the indifferentists. They say they do not care about life after death. Okay, now we come to the impossible dream. This is the dream of the socially committed who would only have despair but with courage. To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from the fire, to strive when you are weary, to reach the unreachable star. The positive response is reincarnation. We are not doing it, although many people, including many tribals and Plato himself, believed in the reincarnation of the soul. The immortality of the soul is different from reincarnation. Thomas Aquinas speaks about the immortality of the soul. The soul, once it is born, created, will not die. Then, what we are really interested in is the resurrection of the body. Please pay attention. We are talking about the resurrection of the body, not the resurrection of the soul, resurrection of the body. A new life given to the body, and the body here presupposes the body and the soul and everything that I am made up of. So these are the three positive responses. We take the immortality of the soul. That would mean that basically, once the soul is there, then the soul is something different from the body. And this soul can live on. Okay, there are two arguments to refer to the uniqueness of the soul, that the soul is very different from the body. And these two arguments, one is the soul or the human beings, we have the capacity of abstractive ability to abstract things, to form concepts. That is something which is not part of the bodily, the material part of our life. For example, happiness is an abstract notion. I can see a happy person, a happy face, but from that happy face, I abstract happiness, and that is a special ability which human beings have. And this special ability to form abstract concepts we give to soul. The ability to form abstract concept is part of soul's life. Therefore, we human beings have got a soul, not just matter. Second argument is from the argument from total reflection. Reflection, all of us do. We can always think of someone else. But I think about you. I think that I think about you. I know you. I know that I am knowing you. That is the total reflection. That is the agent is turning back on itself. There is some kind of a self-transparency. I know that cats and dogs have that ability. Cats and dogs know that there is danger outside. Cats and dogs know that the master is feeding them. That's fine. But cats and dogs do not know that they know. This is, I know that I know. That is what makes human life, human beings special. So, we have the ability of total reflection, the ability for abstract thinking. These two things help us to believe that there is something extra in human life, and we call that the soul. And this soul, hopefully, would be something that we would have the power, and this soul, at least from a Christian tradition, is something immortal. We will, this our friend Aquinas has got the proof for it in terms of extrinsic dependency. I'm not taking it now. Later, if we have time, we will take up that proof in terms of extrinsic dependency. So, the natural desire of each one of us to carry on living, can it go in vain? If we have a soul which is that extra from the body, and we have the natural desire to face death and go beyond, then hopefully we should say, yes, this natural desire cannot go in vain. The third one, resurrection of the body. Please remember, we are talking about the body. We are not talking about only the soul. Resurrection of the body. The body includes the soul, but the body is very much part of the material, worldly dimension of our life. Hello, I'm not getting anything. Are you all okay?
Yes, Father. Yes.
Father, okay, Father, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, Father.
So then, the resurrection of the body. We cannot afford to remain blind in faith. Blind faith is not a solution for us. And we need a critical, a reasonable faith which would look at faith, especially the resurrection, from the viewpoint of our critical, rational aspect. What is the name for those who blindly follow? Those who have only blind faith, who are they called? Blind faith, they are called, there is a technical word that is called fideism, or simple blind faith is called fideism. Fideists are those people who say, I believe because I believe. Reason has no role in it. That is fideism. Okay. Now, coming to the resurrection of the body, it is a little complicated, but we need to remember, we need to bring in our faith. Otherwise, we would end up as fideists. And this faith, which is so precious, is different from faith in the resurrection, is different from resuscitation. Please learn that word if it is difficult. Resuscitation. Resuscitation is the raising up of the body of Lazarus or Jairus' daughter, Jesus raised them up. They were dead, and Jesus raised them up. But after a few years, they died a natural death. So resuscitation is raising up of the dead body, the dead person. That is not what we mean by resurrection. Resurrection, of course, is explained in terms of Jesus' appearance to his disciples after his death. That is something unique. No other person has ever claimed this kind of a resurrection as Jesus did. Yeah, Jesus, when he appeared to the disciples, he was not a ghost. He was another physical person, but there is something of the spiritual in it. He could cross the walls and he could accompany the Emmaus disciples, but they wouldn't be able to recognize him. So he would eat with them. He would give them fish for breakfast. But there is something special about it. So the resurrection definitely is not the immortal soul of Jesus. Resurrection is very clearly connected with the body, the person of Jesus. So when we speak about the resurrection of the body, we imply that our body, including the material world, is very significant for us now and also in the life after. This means, this is very important, our history, our memory, our experiences, anxieties, success, and failures, all that we cherish so badly, all those will be transformed and it will be part of our resurrected experience. It is something like the transfiguration which the three disciples experienced. They are there, but there is some kind of a change, some transfiguration. Therefore, when we speak about the resurrection of the body, we are talking about the transformation, the transfiguration, the radical change of our body, our history, our relationship with my parents, brothers, and others. They would be fulfilled in another way. So, resurrection of the body affirms and fulfills this earthly life. It takes this worldly life seriously and leads to a fuller realization of its meaning. Thus, once again, the history, the earth we live in, our wishes, dreams, failures, success, they are all part of the transfigured life. When we talk about reincarnation, they would say our worldly history, our parents, the earth, the wishes, they will all dry away. They are all illusions, they would say. The relationship, the wishes, and the dreams and the failures, they were all illusions and they would simply die away. That is what reincarnation says. But resurrection says that these things will be realized in a fuller way. And these cannot be, the fact of resurrection cannot be a matter of blind faith. We just cannot be fideis. Early disciples, Peter and Co, experienced tremendous resistance in believing at the resurrection. And still, even though the disciples were unhappy, uncomfortable with this aspect of resurrection, they made resurrection the backbone of their faith, the cornerstone of their faith. That would mean something objective imposed itself on them. That there was something objective which the disciples, although they didn't like it, could not deny it. So something objective imposed on them. So that is not something which the early disciples, those poor fishermen and fisher folks, could have invented for themselves in order to cheat the rest of humanity. So, when we speak about the power of resurrection, the early disciples were not at all for it. They faced so much of resistance. Still, they made this the cornerstone of Christian tradition. That meant something objective came on the way. These subjective experiences, which everyone, including Paul, had, they imposed themselves on them. So, resurrection of the body could not have been something that they just invented. It is something objectively possible. Now you have the questions. I wanted to go through these questions also. Any questions or reflections, please?
One
Please
question.
unmute yourself and come up with your questions.
One question.
Yeah.
As you said, Paul had an objective outlook towards resurrection, and
Yeah.
even other disciples also have. But
Yeah.
is that really objective, or is it based? Are those based on their own subjectivity rather than objectivity?
See, the difficulty is it is not based on their own subjective experiences alone, not based on their own subjective experiences alone, because the way Peter, the way Mary understood resurrection, there is a commonality there. If it is only my hallucination, I would imagine of resurrection in one way, and I wouldn't be able to share it with the others. Thomas' experience of resurrection is different from Peter's, but St. Thomas, St. Peter, St. James, and St. Paul, they had some kind of a commonality. They experienced that Jesus was alive. They experienced that Jesus appeared to those people who are close to them. Please note, Jesus never appeared to any non-believer. Jesus never could make non-believers or the other Pharisees see himself. So, faith in Jesus was a necessary condition for experiencing the resurrection. But that was there. So, my point is, it is not something which one person just make up. It is not just an illusion.